suck.
We got a video for you guys today.
Oh, you know, we do.
But shit, it's a sad one.
It's a sad one. Guys, we want to just take a real quick minute because, as a lot of you know, Mad Catz has gone down the drain.
Right.
They have filed for bankruptcy, correct?
They have. So if you guys recall, it was back in 2016. They did a ton of layoffs. Remember that? And we lost Mark Mann.
We lost Mark Mann, and I do believe there was a media outlet called Ronin 24 that said, I bet they're going out of business soon.
Right. Unfortunately, we predicted it. Right? Like, we've always got these awesome predictions and we're typically on, but this one was like, it doesn't look good for them. Right? Yeah. So they had the huge layoffs. Mark Mann continued his journey into the community, started making other sticks like the Pantera and the Kwamba line and stuff he worked with. But unfortunately, the company wasn't rebounding, right? And their stock continued to fall. And unfortunately, in this last week, in case you missed the news, they filed for Chapter 7, which is a very specific kind of bankruptcy.
Tell me.
That means there's no coming back this time.
Oh.
Right. That means that basically when you file for Chapter 7...
That's the difference between Chapter 7 and Chapter 11, correct?
Yeah. So you're basically saying, like, we have no plans of reorganizing in any way. We're not restructuring. We're going to liquidate. And this company is gone.
And that's a sad day because Mad Catz has been with us, and this is just goes well outside of the FGC. This is a broad stroke video. This goes back all the way to the old school, like, N64 days, the PlayStation days, the you know, the PlayStation 2 days. You know, it's Mad Catz always meant little brother's controller, or player 2
controller for sure.
You know, so
I remember for me, Mad Catz really took off, I think, in my home personally with the original Xbox. And that's because if you remember when the original Xbox launched, they had 2 different controllers, right? They had the Big Mama and then they had the small ones, and they were really expensive. But Mad Catz was like, nah, we can make that for like half the price. So everybody got like the green clear Mad Catz controllers, you know, like their signature clear plastic.
Yeah, and you can see they were like, they're sitting in a board meeting, they're like, what do kids think is cool? Yeah. Let them see what's inside the controller.
Yeah, somebody's like, what about no color?
Yeah.
Boom! Wow. And, you know, I remember that's when I started buying Mad Catz controllers, and I was like, damn, they work.
They're not bad.
It was great.
They're not bad.
Man, I remember back on Xbox 360, I had their Call of Duty controller. Because it was kind of like, it was like a Scuff Junior.
Yeah.
Right?
Did it have the paddles?
It didn't have the paddles, but it had like some other controls and some sensitivity dials and stuff. So I was like, ooh, I feel like I'm really dialing in. Yeah. I'm pwned some noobs.
Now, truth be told, I was not a fan of Mad Catz. Back in the day, you know, I guess I was cut from a different cloth where I would just go save up my money for an extra month and then buy a...
Somebody's a first person.
I like first person products. But then when I started, when Killer Instinct 2013 came out, I was like, I really want to get my first fight stick. So the big dogs on campus were Mad Catz. Right. I went to Evo 2014 and you know, a huge presence there, and it really kind of opened my eyes to the world of fight sticks. And I thought, I'm gonna make my first purchase, and I got myself a TE2, and that kind of opened my world to the quality that Mad Catz can bring.
Exactly.
And it's quite a different beast now, or was, than it was when we were kids, I feel.
You know, so the one thing that Mad Catz did for us in the FGC specifically, and of course for, you know, there's all kinds of other specific genres they did this for too, is that we needed something that was a little bit different than a standard controller. You know, we grew up in the arcades where you had the button layout and you had a joystick, right? And, you know, for games like Street Fighter 4, you know, they had a huge arcade presence, right? Especially in Japan.
Yep.
And all these Japan, you know, players are going to the arcade and they're showing up with their cool stick and then they're dominating. The first thing you're going to do is like, what's he using? I want to use that too. So they're like,
did he cut up an arcade machine and steal the board?
I know. You're like, I want what that guy's got. Well, that guy sucks. You know, so they were able to bring that to the masses, and I think they did that better than any other company in their time, because the TE2 is like hands down like the definitive joystick for fighting games.
Yeah.
So, you know, so of course I'm curious to hear, like, what was the big peripheral for you guys, right? Like, I don't know if you guys were like farm simulator players or whatever, but if you were, then like that was like an important peripheral.
Did they make like they did, Mad Catz tractors,
you know,
like see-through parts?
Like they did like racing wheels and stuff. You know, obviously those were huge, and I think there's a lot of companies out there that are ready to take over and fill those shoes.
I was gonna. That's my next question to you. Boop boop. who's going to fill that void. We already, especially in the fight stick world, we know that Quamba's coming up. Razor's already made a name for themselves, so I feel like that's a void that's going to get filled really quickly there. But when it comes to like aftermarket controllers, there's like PDP and stuff like that that really just don't quite hit the mark to what the quality that Mad Catz brought. It's going to be very interesting to see who comes up and takes the plate next.
Yeah, you know, I think you're looking for a company that can go into different genres, not just one specific genre. So if you're looking like outside of the FGC as a whole, and we're talking about somebody who's going to make controllers and they're going to make other peripherals that are, you know, like Guitar Hero, for example. And that was, unfortunately, as we know, that was one of the big downfalls for Mad Catz. They went
they made the Guitar Hero?
They went in hard on those Guitar Hero peripherals, right? They're like kids want plastic guitars. That fad kind of died off. And one thing I think they did well, I guess you could say, is also the same thing that killed them. And they followed trends, right? You know, fight games blew up with Street Fighter 4, and everybody wanted a joystick so they could play that home experience now the same as they did at the arcade.
Yeah.
They did the same thing with like rhythm games. You know, all of a sudden Guitar Hero is a huge thing. They're like, let's make all these aftermarket guitars because all these guitars are going to break, right? So they're like, we'll be the guys to bring that. So apparently, like, they were like in the arcades in Japan, like, what's the next cool thing? You know, and unfortunately, sometimes when you follow those trends, you're gonna go with those trends.
That's a good point.
Downward.
That's true. That's true. But Tim brings up a good point. What was your favorite Mad Catz memory? What was your? I'm sure that a lot of our viewers probably primarily use them for arcade sticks, but you know, we'd like to hear from you. What's your fondest memories of Mad Catz? And you know, it's a sad day for the world of third-party gaming peripherals, but well, I think we'll see a bounce back with somebody else. I hope that everybody that may have lost their jobs in the transition maybe finds a better home somewhere else. And because that's always the biggest bummer that maybe a lot of you don't always think about. This is probably, you know, hundreds of people that lost their jobs, which is probably the biggest tragedy. You know,
I know everybody's like, "Oh, my fight stick! I'm gonna have to get another one." But you know, it's like, hey man, there's some people right now struggling to feed their family. It sucks.
It's true.
So,
and before we close out the video, I just want to give you guys a PSA because now that Mad Catz is going under the water, there's a lot of resellers coming out with like, oh hey, you know, we're selling TE2s for like 30-40 on Amazon, which initially I was like, oh, that's a great deal, but upon further investigation, those are scams. Please
very
think twice.
deliberate scams that also follow the trends that we were talking about. Yeah.
So please think twice before you see a Mad Catz deal and go to jump on the bandwagon, because
if it's too good to be true, it sure the fuck is.
But anyway, guys, you know what to do.
You can tweet us.
You can, and we can talk about Mad Catz.
You can comment.
Anyway, subscribe. You some bitches.
Subscribe.
Timmy. Oh, let's do the thing.
Whoa!